Hi everyone, Evan from the Trade Risk, Tuesday, December 30th. I want to start off and just wish everybody happy holidays. I hope they're enjoying time with friends and family, hopefully times away from the screen. It's good to get that in before the new year kicks off and the rush starts again. And I also want to remind everyone that we are running a promotion here for the first 30 days. It's $1 for our premium service at the Trade Risk. Momentum swing trading, we rotate in and out of a lot of ideas. It's a pretty active approach, but if you've been looking at it, thinking about it, if you have any questions, contact me. Otherwise, the URL right up there, thetraderisk.com/premium. It's a great time to check us out. So without further delay, let's jump into some of this analysis here, and we'll start with the SPY. Today, second to last day of the year, you can see we did fade off a little bit. We basically, the high level momentum sort of broke today. If we zoom down to a 30-minute chart, we will see the support that we had right around this 207.80, 208, call it what you will, but this little area here, we broke it today, and we just kind of, it was a very boring day today, but we kind of just drifted lower. And, when we're looking at the SPY here, keep in mind we did just go ex-dividend 2 weeks ago, so the charts are still a little skewed. I think the cash markets might be better to do some analysis on, but, regardless, we broke down below the previous 2 days lows, so, nothing to really be concerned of yet, but you can see we are just pulling in a bit here. Let's see what becomes of it. Tomorrow, obviously, the last day of the year, very likely will be some light volume and not a whole lot of activity going on. So I think, even next week is probably when we'll really start to see what this market wants to do now, while we're at these highs. If we look at the IWM today, similar thing, go back to a daily chart, clearly this nice false breakdown that we had just a few weeks ago is still very much intact. We did break below yesterday's low today, but still in a very strong uptrend, basically at, clearing all of these highs, just about. So we're there. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. Still, again, very healthy, very strong action. So, it's definitely a bull case going into 2015. But again, we'll have to see how we kick off the new year once everyone's back from vacations and the big boys are back to their desks. So let's jump into some other. Let's jump into oil first. And oil, I mean, just in a continued slide. Yesterday was basically another nice new short momentum entry. Below this 5-day trading session lows around 2070, and today basically went sideways at nothing day. Basically closed flat. UNG, natural gas. Similar camp as oil. And just to wrap up oil, there's not a whole lot to say besides it's in a very steep downtrend. Momentum is still very pent up to the shorts, so it's just tough to want to pick a bottom at all. I think getting back above 22 would be, your first interesting look at it, but it's really, I'd rather be looking for short entries. It's just not too actionable right here for me. So with that said, let's go to natural gas. A very similar camp. We had this big gap down here back on the 22nd, and that's really controlling action. You can see a couple of these green bars here. It's trying to stabilize, but still you got moving averages that are very steeply shaped down, pointed down and heading lower. So, it's tough to want to do too much with this. It just really needs some time to set up for me. So it's just pretty much in an avoid spot. Treasuries, TLT. So again, still this one here in a nice bullish formation. 123 was this last pivot low. The bulls want to keep that, held and try and work in here, maybe develop a range up between 125 and 128 to continue this uptrend. But for now, I need to see it tighten up just a bit more. Back in here, we get a nice long entry coming out of this because the action was nice and tight. This action up here is still just pretty loose for me, but it's still, again, it's a market you'd want to be an interested long buyer of. Gold had a nice day today. It's still, again, talking about loose charts, this is still pretty loose here. I mean, definitely showing some signs of trying to stabilize, but again, it's still sort of sloppy, so I want to see what comes of it. But it's trying to, we thought this might be a bear flag and it was breaking down here. Looks like the bulls came in, tried to, are saving it, in the process of attempting to save it at least. So let's see what comes of it. Silver, similar type of camp. I mean, it's just kind of digesting here at the lows. So, it's doing the tough work. You want to see what becomes of this, and I think for me, it's just not ready yet, but, it's interesting action to see how it all develops. So let's jump into some of the names here that are usual suspects. Apple, we'll start there. Apple, I came into this week long Apple. I was looking just for this little mini breakout here to kind of get some momentum. I thought it'd be a nice squeeze candidate, kind of lift higher into the end of the year. Yesterday had some, some follow through at the beginning and then faded off. Today broke yesterday's lows. I got out of it pretty much right on the open today. Right as it broke basically below yesterday's lows, 113.50, I was out of this today. Just trying to keep things really tight. I wanted to just see this thing work, continue, momentum to stay in. So really, I mean, again, today broke yesterday's low, but really it's still holding this upper level range here. So I think 112 to 114 is where it's still stuck right now. And the breakout from Friday sort of just didn't work out yet. So it just needs a little more time. Still looks decent here. It looks like it's carving out this range, so keep it on watch. It could have some more setups going forward. Google, similar thing here, broke below the previous day's lows. Definitely it's not in a nice uptrend like Apple is, so it's just sort of caught in this big range here. So, not too much for me to do here. I think back above 542. You could get some more momentum to the upside in there, and then I think as long as it's below 540, probably favors the bears. I mean, it came off a nice impulse leg, but let's just see what happens with it. Kind of a messy area, so Google is just not that interesting to me. Facebook, here's one we did have a long entry in right as it cleared above the 78.50 level. We're out of it now, but it's sort of just dripping lower here. Like some of these momentum stocks into the end of the year, just maybe some profit taking. I mean, Facebook's had a great run this year, but it's close to highs. We want to see where the bulls will step in and kind of defend this. It's kind of, 78.50 I think is an important level for me to see it hold above. I'd like for Facebook to just continue to offer some nice long setups for us. Going into next year. So I think holding 78.50 would be a good start for that, and I think that would shape up some positive action going forward. But for now, let's just see what this little pullback. I mean, it basically came from 75, went to 82 in 4 days, so I think it's allowed to pull back a little bit. Let's just see what becomes of it. Not very actionable there, but definitely could get interesting. Twitter, next one. This one's still just having a lot of trouble. I think as long as it's below this $39, $40 level, basically, where this base got carved out through the end of October into November, early December, I think, the bears are just in control. The moving averages need to catch up. You need to see this price action get a little tighter. It had a chance last week above 38. It tried to basically start to reclaim this breakdown area. Clearly, it couldn't handle it yet. So back to the lows we go. Let's see if these lows hold. Again, you don't want to keep testing lows, so it's definitely going to get a little dicey here on this $35 level. Could have a lot of tax selling. People with losses. Twitter this year obviously hasn't performed too well. So, again, coming into the new year, I think a lot of these charts are, could potentially take some different shape or pivot, but for now we'll use what we have in Twitter. Just not that interesting. I'd rather be short it than be long it. Let's see. Tesla. So we're back, 218s is kind of long-term critical level that I have on here, sort of line in the sand. We're holding above it, and I think as long as we can do that, the bulls are trying to change the momentum here. Still in a downtrend. It's going to need to do it's going to need to do more work above ultimately 260 to reverse this big intermediate level chart price action. But for now, we're coming off of these 194 lows, and had a nice impulse leg trying to digest. So for the short term, sort of sit and wait and let's see what happens. 218 is a big level for me. I'd like to see it just go sideways, set something back up. But Tesla, sort of anybody's game right here as far as the bulls and the bears go. Let's see who wants it and which way that one's going to tip. Amazon, again, similar comments here. Had a little bit of an impulse leg from 290, and now we're just going to see what it's doing. Moving averages are starting to curl up, but again, 320, 332, this is just a big band of resistance. For long-term holders here in Amazon, I'd love to see it just get back above it, clear this wall of resistance, then it would be a more interesting long setup to me. For now, Amazon just really doesn't excite me too much. GoPro, so this one, real strong bounce all the way down from 53 up to almost 70 in 4 days, and now it's starting to cool off here. So today was basically an inside day. Still, it was a green day today, so we outperformed today, which was a positive for the bulls. And I think the lows of today and yesterday now become even more important, right around $65. So this support level I have drawn here, and I think that that is at least the most immediate near-term level to have on watch. And I think if GoPro can sort of go sideways here, let the price action tighten up, I think it could offer a nice setup, either long or short, depending on which way it breaks. But it's sort of anybody's game in here. And from my opinion, it's in a mixed sort of just a larger range. So I think it could it could go either way. So just keep an eye on GoPro. Heading into the new year. Alibaba, this one, 107.50, I think is a clear resistance level that it needs to break above. And I think, really this 104, and it's not what I think, it's what the market's showing us, this 104 level is a very important level for the bulls to hold on to. So it's a pretty tight range, and especially for this type of beta stock, granted it's still a relatively new IPO, we've definitely seen it bust a move and have a pretty good average true range. So for the fact that Alibaba is in between like a 3-point range for certainly all of this week, and now another week in here, had a nice little failed attempt higher last week, but when everything's said and done, I think you are getting you're going to have some volatility expansion here in Alibaba pretty soon, because it has stayed pretty tight. So perhaps the new year is what we'll have to wait for on this, but it's definitely getting interesting. So I think above 107.50, I'd probably consider a long setup in that, depending on how it gets there, but we'll keep an eye on it into the new year. Banks today, very strong. Definitely the outperformers today. Bank of America at basically yearly highs here. It is at yearly highs. JP Morgan today, same exact thing. Goldman Sachs, basically at the highs. So very strong. Even today they did outperform. So that's definitely a sector where you can see money still either rotating to or hiding out in. And that looks pretty good. So let's get into some other setups here. Yelp. Yelp had a very nice day today, trying to break out above 54.50 or so. If it can get back above here, so this is sort of the highs that it made last week. If it can get back above there, it could start to do some work. Ultimately 57. There's a lot of supply in here, but these moving, you could see this long-term downtrend that's been intact, and you can see we're trying to make another attempt to lift out of it. So keep that one on watch. Getting pretty close to being actionable. Here's a biotech name that I had on watch. Really long protracted downtrend all the way from summertime of this year, and it's a relatively new IPO. It basically IPO'd back in the beginning of summer, but you can see it finally starting to lift out here, moving averages curling over. So let's see if this can continue to lift above today's highs. We got faded today, but it did still hold green on a relatively on a red market day. So keep this one on watch. Biotechs have been pretty crazy. Another one, this one not so actionable. I didn't realize it moved so much today. HYH, this one was a pretty good setup here. I saw it trigger around 43.40 today that I had on watch, but it did sort of get going there. Had a nice base that it carved out. We did catch a trade in it earlier, then we just left it to do its thing as it started working sideways, and then today you got another new entry in it. So tough to chase it there, but that one definitely still looks like it could head higher into the new year. Blue, another biotech. This one thought it would be getting ready today to break. Wasn't quite, it got faded above this $94 resistance level. So keep it on watch. It has been relatively tight in here after this big gap up back earlier this month. So keep that on watch. Another one NDRM. So this was the big mover today. If you were in this, congratulations. I think, even if you were late to the party here, this thing just kept cruising all day higher. So definitely, gave a lift to some of the biotech, even though it's a small one, but gave a lift to this sector. It'll be interesting to see how this opens up tomorrow. It's just definitely where all the traders are playing right now. A couple of names that were weak. Zillow, still having some trouble here. Broke down below this range around 113.50, heading lower. Same thing with Trulia. This one as well, pretty weak today, underperforming some of the some of the averages and some of the other names out there. So it's sort of an interesting aside. A couple of other names to have on watch. CDK. This one here is on my watch list. I think above 42 could really start to get going, even 41.40, 41.50 if it can start clearing above this range. It's been fading the past 3 days, but it's still been hanging pretty high and tight given its run up since mid-October. So keep that one on watch. Zendesk, here's another one to have on watch. Above 25 I think can get going. So it's just been sluggish here. Let's just see if it can get some injection of volume. Probably not going to happen until next week. That one could get going. And even Yahoo, this is another name to have on watch. It's been consolidating nicely after this brilliant move from 36 all the way to 52, and then it's been taking a pause here. So I think back above 52 bucks could really start to move for us. So that's it. That's all I have for today. Again, check out the promotion we're running. If you're interested in what we do, if you have any questions, please email me, evanm@thetraderisk, or you can find me on Twitter at evanmadaris or StockTwits. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the new year.